Have you ever wondered what true victory over a narcissist looks like? Many people believe it's impossible to win against a narcissist, but that's not entirely true. The key lies in understanding that winning isn't about defeating them. It's about reclaiming your power and peace of mind. This understanding reframes the concept of victory in a more empowering and achievable way for those who have dealt with narcissistic abuse. Let me share with you the 5 most telling signs that you've truly overcome narcissistic abuse. Remember those days when every notification from them would send your heart racing, when their criticism would echo in your mind for days, and their subtle jabs would feel like daggers to your soul. We've all been there, but here's the beautiful truth. Emotional freedom arrives like a gentle dawn, gradually illuminating the shadows of their influence until they fade into insignificance. The most powerful person in your life is the one who has no effect on your emotions. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's more like watching a Polaroid develop. At first, the image is fuzzy and unclear, but slowly the picture becomes crystal clear. You start reading their messages with the same emotional investment as you'd read a weather forecast. Their attempts to provoke you become as ineffective as rain against a window. You can see it, but you're warm and dry inside. Think of it like building immunity. Just as your body develops antibodies to fight off infections, your emotional system develops resilience against their toxic behavior. What used to feel like emotional earthquakes now registers as mere tremors, until one day you realize you're standing completely still while their drama swirls around you like autumn leaves in the wind. The real magic happens when you catch yourself responding to their latest attempt at manipulation with nothing more than mild amusement or genuine indifference. It's like watching a movie you've seen too many times. You know all the plot twists, all the dramatic moments, and none of it moves you anymore. You're no longer the protagonist in their drama. You've become a conscious observer, watching from a place of peaceful detachment. This emotional freedom isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about reclaiming your emotional sovereignty. It's about reaching a place where their presence or absence in your life holds no more significance than a change in the weather. You've transcended their influence, and in doing so, you've achieved the first and perhaps most significant victory in your journey of healing. And you know what's truly remarkable? This freedom often arrives so quietly that you might not even notice it at first. It's in those small moments when you can laugh at a text that would have once sent you spiraling, or when you can calmly decline their invitation without feeling guilty, that you realize just how far you've come. That's not just winning against a narcissist. That's winning back yourself. You know what's fascinating about true indifference? It's like watching a horror movie that you've seen so many times it's lost all emotional impact. That's exactly what happens when you've truly won against a narcissist. Their presence becomes as unremarkable as wallpaper in a waiting room. Think about it. There was a time when their every move could shake your emotional foundation. Their texts would send your heart racing. Their social media posts would keep you awake at night. And their opinions seemed to carry the weight of universal truth. But genuine indifference, that's like reaching the eye of the storm, where everything is suddenly beautifully quiet. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference, wrote Elie Wiesel-Nowhere. Is this truth more powerful than in healing from narcissistic abuse? When you reach this stage, it's not about pretending not to care or forcing yourself to look unbothered. It's about genuinely feeling nothing, like watching clouds pass by on a lazy afternoon. Their achievements don't spark jealousy, their failures don't bring satisfaction, and their attempts to provoke you fall as flat as a joke told in a language you no longer speak. Imagine walking past a store where you once maxed out your credit cards, shopping compulsively. Now, you barely notice its window displays. That's what genuine indifference feels like. The narcissist becomes just another person in the crowd, their power over you as gone as last year's snow. Their grand announcements, dramatic gestures, and carefully orchestrated crises that once seemed like earth-shattering events now hold all the significance of a stranger's grocery list. This isn't the cold shoulder of forced detachment or the burning intensity of active hatred. Those still require energy, still mean they occupy space in your emotional world. No, this is the peaceful neutrality of truly moving on. Like a scar that's fully healed, you know it's there, but you don't think about it anymore. And here's the beautiful irony. This genuine indifference is actually the narcissist's worst nightmare. Because while they can work with love or hate, both feed their need for attention and significance. They have no defense against being treated as utterly unremarkable. Your calm, genuine disinterest becomes a mirror reflecting their greatest fear, their own insignificance. Remember, this level of indifference doesn't happen overnight. It's like watching a Polaroid develop in reverse. The sharp, vivid images of pain and anger gradually fade until all that's left is a blank slate, ready for new, healthier experiences and relationships. And when you reach this point, you'll know you haven't just won a battle. You've won back your peace of mind. Let me tell you about the most powerful weapon in your healing arsenal, one that doesn't require any ammunition except your own resolve. No contact isn't just a strategy, it's an art form, a declaration of independence, and ultimately, a love letter to yourself. When maintaining no contact becomes as natural as breathing, you'll know you've crossed a threshold that many thought impossible. You see, there's this magical moment in the healing journey when you realize you haven't checked their social media in weeks, maybe months. It's not because you're forcing yourself not to, it's because you genuinely forgot they exist online. Remember how you used to craft the perfect responses to their messages in your head? How you'd rehearse conversations that might happen if you ran into them, that mental real estate they were occupying. It's now been converted into a garden of self-discovery, blooming with possibilities that have nothing to do with them. Think of no contact like quitting a highly addictive substance, because that's exactly what it is. The trauma bond with a narcissist creates biochemical attachments in your brain that rival the strongest addictions. As Dr. Bessel van der Kolk famously noted, the body keeps the score. But here's the beautiful thing. When no contact becomes effortless, your body has finally settled its accounts. Those dopamine hits you used to get from their breadcrumbs of attention. They've been replaced by the steady, sustainable joy of self-respect. Their hoovering attempts, those calculated moves to pull you back into their orbit, become almost comical. It's like watching a predictable TV show where you already know all the plot twists. "I've changed," they say. "Nobody understands me like you do. I miss what we had." But instead of feeling that old familiar pull, you find yourself thinking, "Oh, we're at this episode again," and you simply change the channel, not out of spite or strength, but because there's something better on your own life. The true power of no contact isn't in the blocking or the deleting. It's in the profound realization that you're no longer fighting the urge to connect. The silence that once felt like punishment becomes a sanctuary. The space that felt like emptiness becomes fertile ground for growth. It's like finally taking off a heavy backpack you've been carrying for years. You didn't realize how much it was weighing you down until it was gone. And here's a truth that might surprise you. The most liberating part of no contact isn't the physical distance, it's the mental freedom. When their voice in your head finally goes quiet, when their opinion no longer factors into your decisions, when their potential reaction to your choices becomes irrelevant. That's when you know you've not just implemented no contact, you've embodied it. Remember this, every time you maintain no contact, you're not just choosing absence, you're choosing presence. Presence in your own life, presence in your own healing, presence in your own joy. It's like finally turning up the volume on your own voice after years of living on mute. And trust me, once you hear the clarity of your own thoughts without their static interference, you'll wonder how you ever lived any other way. This is when no contact transforms from a defensive strategy into a celebration of your freedom. It's no longer about running from them, it's about running toward yourself. And that, my friend, is when you know you've truly won. Imagine finding an old photograph of yourself from before the narcissistic relationship. There's a sparkle in your eyes, a natural smile, an essence of pure authenticity that somehow got buried under layers of someone else's expectations. That's what recovering your true self feels like. It's like watching a garden bloom after a long winter, each flower representing a piece of your personality that's finally safe to emerge again. You know that moment when you catch yourself laughing, really laughing from deep within your belly, and suddenly realize you can't remember the last time you felt this free. That's your authentic self breaking through the surface, like a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. The beautiful thing about this transformation is that it happens so organically, you might not even notice it at first. One day, you're simply making decisions without that familiar voice in your head, questioning whether they would approve. The most beautiful part of your body is where it's headed, writes Naira Waheed. And this perfectly captures the journey of reclaiming yourself. It's not just about returning to who you were before. It's about evolving into someone stronger, wiser, and more authentically you than ever before. You start choosing clothes because you like them, not because they'll meet someone else's approval. You pursue interests that light you up, not because they'll impress others or fit someone else's narrative of who you should be. Remember how you used to dim your light to make them shine brighter. Now you're rediscovering your own brilliance, like a star that was temporarily hidden behind clouds. You're no longer editing your thoughts before speaking them, no longer shrinking your achievements to avoid triggering their insecurity. It's as if you've been living in a house where all the mirrors were slightly warped, and suddenly you can see your true reflection again. The most profound part of this transformation is the return of your intuition, that quiet, wise voice that always knew the truth but was gaslighted into silence. Now it speaks clearly again, guiding you with the wisdom that was always there. You find yourself making choices that align with your values, not their expectations. Your dreams, once relegated to the background, start taking center stage in your life story. This isn't just about reclaiming who you were. It's about discovering who you've become through this journey. Every scar, every lesson, every moment of resilience has contributed to a newer, stronger version of yourself. Like a broken bone that heals stronger at the point of fracture, you've emerged more powerful precisely where they tried to break you. And here's the most beautiful part. As your authentic self reemerges, you realize that this was the greatest victory all along. Not in changing them, not in proving anything to them, but in remembering and reclaiming your own magnificent truth. You are finally free to be unapologetically, brilliantly, authentically you. Imagine standing on a mountaintop, looking down at a storm raging in the valley below. That's what achieving compassionate distance from a narcissist feels like. You can see the chaos clearly, but you're no longer caught in it. This final stage of victory isn't about hatred or even indifference. It's about reaching a place of profound understanding, coupled with firm boundaries. You know what's fascinating about this stage? It's like being able to read a book you once found devastating, but now seeing it with entirely new eyes. The narcissist's behavior, which once seemed like a personal attack against you, now appears as clear as a child's drawing. Simple, predictable patterns born from deep wounds and insecurities. As Maya Angelou once said, "When you know better, you do better, and this knowledge becomes your shield, not your burden." The beauty of compassionate distance lies in its paradox. You can simultaneously understand the narcissist's pain while choosing not to be its caretaker. It's like watching someone struggling to swim, but knowing that jumping in would only drown you both. Instead, you stand firmly on the shore, aware but unentangled. This isn't coldness, it's wisdom born from experience. Think of it as achieving emotional enlightenment. Just as a Buddhist monk can acknowledge suffering without being consumed by it, you've learned to see the narcissist's behavior for what it is, a manifestation of their own internal struggles, their desperate attempts to fill a bottomless void. Their actions were never about your worth. They were always about their wounds. And in this understanding, comes the most profound freedom of all. This perspective transformation is like watching a magic trick after learning how it's done. The illusion no longer holds power over you, but instead of feeling disappointed, you feel a gentle appreciation for the complexity of human nature. You recognize that the narcissist's grandiosity is actually a shield protecting a fragile inner core. And while that knowledge doesn't excuse their behavior, it helps you maintain your own peace. The most powerful aspect of this victory is that it's sustainable. Unlike the burning intensity of hatred or the forced neutrality of early indifference, compassionate distance comes from a place of strength and wisdom. It's like having an emotional immune system that recognizes toxic behavior patterns but doesn't react to them. You can acknowledge the narcissist's existence without being pulled into their orbit. Remember, reaching this stage doesn't mean you've become some kind of saint. It means you've become whole. You've integrated your experiences into wisdom, your pain into understanding, and your boundaries into compassion. And that, dear friend, is the ultimate victory, not just over the narcissist, but over the cycle of hurt itself. In conclusion, I will say that winning against a narcissist isn't about outsmarting them or making them suffer. It's about reaching a place where their presence or absence in your life becomes irrelevant to your happiness and well-being. When you achieve these 5 signs, you haven't just won against a narcissist, you've won back yourself. And that, my friends, is the sweetest victory of all. Remember, healing isn't linear, and reaching this point takes time. But trust me, the day will come when you'll read this list and realize you've checked off every single sign, and that day will feel absolutely incredible.